Not only has Diffy allowed us to do the basics that should be done without having to have a human do it, but also it has given us the freedom to tackle tickets in a shorter time frame, less planning and allocation. That's been nice. Hello, I'm Stephen Musgrave. I am a partner and head of technology at Capellic. We are a digital agency that builds and maintains Drupal websites for nonprofits. We've been in business for about 11 years, but my introduction to the web dates me back in, puts that back in the mid-90s, so I've been around a while. Before we started, we would rely, I think as most people do it, you really rely on a site historian, someone who's familiar with the website, remembering how it looked, to be able to frown and pick up on something that went awry during a commit. Sometimes that would just be recollection. Sometimes that would be a side-by-side comparison. The live site, of course, that's very, very tedious, requires a large screen. Someone will just tolerate that kind of work and who is detail-oriented. So over time, we realized that wouldn't hold up. In fact, it prevented us from doing some work that we wanted to do because we just saw the potential impact. Well, if we do this, and we're gonna have to check all these things, and we're not in a position to do that. We don't have the resource allocation. So at first, when starting to use Diffy, or this would apply to any visual regression testing tool, it was a bit of a struggle on how to use it. Since we're an agency that builds new websites and then maintains existing websites, that's just the basics of updating modules and core and so forth, to adding on features, so the continuous improvement aspect of a website. I basically have 3 different configurations or playbooks that slot into those 3 different disciplines. So building a new website, we use it in a way where once a component has been approved, it's through QA, and that might just be in Storybook. So we might produce in Storybook, you can pulls it out of all the iframes and all the Storybook navigation, and we will train Diffy on that. So say, for example, it's a hero component. It gets approved. We run that through Diffy, because in Diffy, we can, at the URL level, set something as a baseline. Then we have a baseline for that component. Great, let's move on to the next. So if you're then 10 components in, maybe it's a different hero component that's now being developed, and maybe there's an intentional, unintentional sharing of a CSS class that then gets changed for the new component. While running Diffy baseline of the first hero, you would pick up on that error straight away. What's important about that too is it doesn't rely on the front-end developer to remember to go back and check things, because humans are just not very good at that task. That's one way we use it. So the other way is we use a service that every month they run updates. Every month they're running security for us. They have a branch. They have a multi-dev. We use Pantheon for most of our websites. And so we've got an automated script that runs through code that you helped us with. We're using a Quicksilver hook that will fire off this code to take a bunch of screenshots. So that happens automatically, and that's a part of our internal QA process before we hand it over to the client, because if anybody's been around a while, has at least once sent something over for UAT that had a glaring error on one of their pages. This is totally broken. The last use case, when we're doing new development, we're adding on a section of the site, we're adding on new components. It's a bit like the first use case, where we will create a branch. We will run a Diffy baseline for that branch. And then again, if there's like 3 new components we're doing for that continuous improvement, we'll baseline each of those new components so that as new ones get developed, we're not breaking the ones that are approved. Yeah, those are the three ways we use Diffy.